When we talk about supporting a partner's dreams, most people imagine applause, words of encouragement, or standing proudly beside them at the moment of victory. And while those gestures are important, they come much later in the process. Real support begins much earlier, at a point most people overlook understanding. Before you can encourage someone, before you can celebrate them, you must first take the time to know what their dream truly means to them. Without this understanding, your encouragement risks being shallow or worse, misaligned with what they actually need. Think about it. Every dream is more than just an ambition. It carries with it a history of experiences, insecurities, sacrifices, and personal meaning. When your partner tells you they want to pursue a career, start a business, write a book, or change paths entirely, what they are really offering you is not just a plan, but a piece of their identity. If you rush to support without truly listening, you miss the chance to connect to the soul of that vision. And when you fail to connect, your support can feel generic, like empty words rather than genuine belief. Understanding begins with listening, but not the kind of listening we often practice. Many of us listen to respond. We're already preparing advice or a reaction before the other person has even finished speaking. To truly support your partner, you must practice listening to understand. Ask yourself, what is at the heart of this dream for them? Is it about proving something to themselves? Is it about healing an old wound? Is it about leaving a legacy? By asking thoughtful questions, questions that go beyond the surface, you communicate that you care not just about the outcome, but about the inner world that fuels their ambition. Psychologically, this is powerful. Humans have an innate need to feel seen, not just noticed, but truly seen for who they are. When your partner shares their dreams, they are often sharing something vulnerable, something that could expose them to failure or judgment. If in that moment you dismiss, minimize, or even half-heartedly acknowledge it, you plant seeds of doubt. But if you lean in, if you give them the gift of undivided attention, you plant seeds of trust and confidence. They walk away not only believing more in their dream, but believing more in your role in their life. And here's the deeper truth: to support a dream is not to control it. It's not your job to reshape it into something practical or more convenient. Many people sabotage their partner's ambition under the guise of realism. They say, "I just don't want you to get hurt," or "maybe you should aim for something smaller." What they don't realize is that in those moments, they aren't protecting their partner, they're projecting their own fears. Real understanding requires you to separate your doubts from their desires. It requires humility to recognize that their vision doesn't need your approval to be valid. It needs your empathy to be sustainable. Understanding also means learning the language of their passion. If your partner loves art, try to understand what inspires their creativity. If they're pursuing entrepreneurship, learn about the challenges they face in that field. You don't have to become an expert, but you do need to show interest. Interest is one of the purest forms of love. When you invest the effort to understand the details of their journey, you send a clear message: your world matters to me because you matter to me. That sense of partnership transforms the way they approach their goals. They no longer feel like they're walking alone. And let's not forget, understanding is not passive. It's not just nodding your head and saying, "I get it." It's about engaging with curiosity, asking follow-up questions, remembering the little details, and showing consistency. Imagine how different it feels when someone remembers a small milestone you mentioned in passing, compared to when they constantly have to repeat themselves. One communicates care, the other communicates disinterest. When you remember and acknowledge the details of your partner's dream, you show that it's alive not just in their mind, but in yours too. The beauty of understanding is that it lays the foundation for encouragement to actually matter. Encouragement without understanding is like watering a plant without knowing what kind of soil it's in. You might keep pouring, but it doesn't reach the roots. When you understand the soil, your partner's fears, hopes, and motivations, you know how to encourage in a way that nourishes, not just excites. Sometimes encouragement means celebrating progress, but other times it means offering patience during doubt or reminding them of their own strength when they forget. You can only do that authentically if you've first taken the time to understand. So, if you truly want to support your partner's dreams, don't start with cheerleading. Start with listening. Start with curiosity. Start with the courage to hold space for a vision that might be bigger, scarier, or more uncertain than you're comfortable with. Because at the end of the day, your partner isn't just asking you to support their dream. They're asking you to support the part of themselves that believes in something more. And here's the reflection I'll leave you with to understand your partner's dreams is to honor their humanity. It is to say, I see you, I hear you, I value you not only for who you are today, but for who you dare to become. That is the kind of support that doesn't just strengthen ambitions, it strengthens love itself. When most people think of supporting their partner's dreams, they picture constant encouragement, unshakable cheer, and unwavering belief. And yes, those elements matter. But here's a truth we rarely acknowledge: support without accountability can actually become sabotage. When you love someone, it's easy to confuse blind agreement with genuine support. You might think you're helping them by always saying yes, by never questioning, by protecting them from discomfort. But in reality, if all you do is cheer without challenging, you risk enabling stagnation instead of fueling growth. True support is more dynamic. It believes in potential, but it also respects discipline. It says, I'm with you, but I'm also going to remind you of what you promised yourself. That's the balance between encouragement and accountability. Without it, dreams remain in the realm of wishful thinking, where passion burns bright for a moment, but fizzles out when reality demands structure. Love that supports deeply understands that success isn't built on enthusiasm alone, it's built on consistent effort, and sometimes effort requires a gentle push. This balance begins with trust. If your partner knows you are invested in their success, then when you challenge them, it doesn't feel like criticism. It feels like care. For example, if they've said they want to write a book, encouragement sounds like, I know you have the talent for this, and I believe in your voice. Accountability sounds like, you mentioned you'd write for an hour each evening. How's that going? One feeds their spirit, the other sharpens their focus. Together, they create momentum. Psychologically, this matters because human beings are wired to oscillate between inspiration and resistance. Ambition often starts with excitement, but soon meets fatigue, distraction, or fear of failure. That's where accountability becomes a gift. It helps someone push through the valleys when motivation alone isn't enough. When you remind your partner of their goals, you're not being controlling. You're being a guardian of their higher self. You're holding them accountable not to you, but to the vision they've already declared matters to them. But there's a fine line here. Accountability in love should never feel like policing or judgment. The moment your support becomes nagging, it shifts from partnership to pressure. The art lies in tone, timing, and intention. Instead of saying, you're not working hard enough, which implies inadequacy, you might say, I know this matters to you. How can I help you stay on track? Notice the difference. One attacks their effort, the other aligns with their dream. When accountability is rooted in love, it doesn't diminish, it empowers. Philosophically, this balance reflects an even deeper truth. Love is not just acceptance, it is also challenge. It accepts who your partner is today while encouraging who they can become tomorrow. To support without accountability is to say, I love you as you are, and I'll never question you. That sounds sweet, but in practice, it can leave your partner stuck in comfort. To combine support with accountability is to say, I love you as you are, and I believe in who you can still become. That is where love transcends mere comfort and becomes transformative. And let's not ignore the reciprocal effect. When you balance support with accountability, you also strengthen the relationship itself. You create a dynamic where honesty thrives, where it's safe to speak truth, where growth isn't just individual but shared. Imagine a relationship where both partners only encourage but never challenge. It feels good in the moment, but over time, it becomes stagnant. Now imagine a relationship where both partners challenge without encouragement. It becomes rigid, cold, more like management than love. The real magic happens when both are present warmth that inspires, paired with structure that sustains. Consider the long-term view. Dreams take years to realize, sometimes decades. Over that journey, there will be moments of doubt, frustration, even despair. In those moments, your partner doesn't need you to simply say, it's fine, don't worry. They need you to remind them why they started. They need you to hold up a mirror to their own commitments, to remind them of the fire that once burned in them. That kind of accountability is not heavy, it's liberating. It lifts them from the weight of discouragement and reconnects them to their own resilience. And here's the paradox. The more accountability is offered with love, the less it feels like accountability at all. It feels like partnership. It feels like someone walking beside you, not pushing you from behind. It feels like the difference between someone saying, "You must," and someone saying, "We can." That difference transforms dreams from lonely battles into shared journeys. So when you think about supporting your partner, ask yourself, am I only encouraging, or am I also empowering? Am I protecting them from discomfort, or am I standing beside them in it? Because real support isn't about making the path easier. It's about making them stronger as they walk it. Let me close with this thought. If encouragement is the wind that lifts the sail, accountability is the rudder that keeps the ship on course. Without one, you drift. Without the other, you stall. But together, they move the dream forward. And in love, the greatest gift you can give your partner is not to carry them to the finish line, but to walk beside them, reminding them of the power they already hold to finish what they started. When we talk about supporting a partner's dreams, there is often an assumption that it means giving everything you have, your time, your energy, your resources, until nothing is left for yourself. It's almost romanticized in culture, the idea of sacrificing your own needs for the sake of your partner's success. But the reality is far more complex. If you pour endlessly into someone else's vision without caring for your own well-being, you create an imbalance that eventually drains the relationship. Support that comes at the expense of self-respect or self-preservation is not sustainable. In fact, it can turn what began as love into resentment. True support requires boundaries. And boundaries are not walls that shut people out. They are the frameworks that keep love alive and healthy. When you set clear boundaries, you communicate to your partner that while you are committed to their ambitions, you also value your own life, your own energy, and your own needs. That's not selfishness. That's wisdom. It means you understand that love thrives not in sacrifice alone, but in balance. Think of it this way: if you give beyond your capacity, eventually what you're offering is not love, but exhaustion. Exhaustion speaks in irritability, in silence, in passive-aggressive comments, in distance. And that kind of energy never uplifts anyone's dreams. Boundaries protect you from reaching that point. They allow you to say, "I will walk beside you, but I will not erase myself in the process." That statement doesn't diminish your love, it strengthens it, because it ensures that your presence is genuine, not forced. Philosophically, this is rooted in a simple truth: you cannot give what you do not have. If you have no energy left, no clarity of mind, no joy in your heart, what kind of support can you truly offer? It would be shallow at best, resentful at worst. To truly support another, you must first protect the conditions that allow you to give freely. That means guarding your own time, investing in your own passions, nurturing your own health, physical, emotional, and spiritual. Love requires two whole individuals, not one thriving while the other shrinks into the background. This is where the balance between support and boundaries becomes not just a personal choice, but a moral responsibility. When you respect your own limits, you set an example for your partner. You demonstrate that it is possible to pursue ambition while still honoring relationships. That dreams don't have to come at the cost of connection. In fact, relationships with healthy boundaries often provide the strongest foundation for ambition because neither person feels unseen or neglected. Each partner can grow, not in competition, but in harmony. Psychologically, boundaries also guard against a hidden danger: dependency. If your partner comes to rely on you to sacrifice endlessly, they may stop developing the resilience and resourcefulness their dream actually requires. By stepping back when needed, you allow them to face challenges on their own, to build the muscles of persistence and creativity. Your role isn't to shield them from every difficulty, it's to walk with them as they overcome those difficulties themselves. Sometimes love means stepping aside so your partner can rise. Of course, boundaries are not always easy to communicate. Many people fear that setting limits will make them appear unsupportive. But here's the paradox: without limits, your support eventually weakens. The longer you push past your own capacity, the more brittle your presence becomes. So it's not a question of whether you should set boundaries. It's a question of how you express them. Instead of saying, "I can't deal with this," which sounds like withdrawal, you might say, "I want to support you in the best way I can, And to do that, I need to take care of myself too. That shifts the frame from rejection to responsibility. And here's something even deeper. Boundaries are a form of love not only for yourself, but for your partner. Because when you show them your limits, you invite them into a relationship with the real you, not the exhausted, depleted version who says yes while silently resenting it, but the authentic you who can give joyfully and consistently. That authenticity is worth far more than endless sacrifice. So supporting your partner's dreams isn't about losing yourself in the process. It's about knowing yourself so well that you can give from a place of strength, not weakness. It's about respecting the fact that two people exist in this partnership and both lives matter. When you protect your own needs, you preserve your capacity to keep walking beside your partner, not just today, but for the long road ahead. And that's the ultimate test of love. Not how much you can give in a single act of sacrifice, but how well you can sustain your presence across time. Boundaries make that possible. They ensure that your support is not a burst of energy that burns out, but a steady flame that keeps burning. Let me leave you with this. Love without boundaries is not love. It's dependency dressed as devotion. Real love respects both the dream and the dreamer, both the giver and the receiver. Support your partner, yes, but do it in a way that preserves your own strength. Because when you both remain whole, that's when dreams have the greatest chance to flourish.